Alright, hello everyone, welcome to the stream. Today we will be continuing from where we left off yesterday. Yesterday I implemented selecting of selection regions of voxels and manipulating selections. We also implemented, let me just show you. Alright, so this is the current state of the voxel editor. There are two edit modes currently, so we can build, which is just placing voxels just like in Minecraft, and then right click removes voxels, and the select mode, which is where we select a group of voxels. The middle mouse button just selects creates the initial selection. The left mouse button then can, depending on which face I'm clicking, I can manipulate this selection, and then the right mouse button then can either move the voxels, or holding down the shift button and right click will duplicate voxels, which is pretty cool. Also, delete will then delete voxels, so I can delete a bunch of them at once. I just realized I can also, like, as you can see, grabbing a face, the front face, will allow me to move the selection in the X direction, or Z direction in this case. But if I hold down the Alt key, I will be manipulating the face that we exit the selection from. So in this case, as you can see, I won't be able to move the selection down. But if I don't hold down the Alt key, I can move the selection down. So that is basically what we did yesterday. It's working pretty well. Today I want to work on saving and loading voxels. And then if I get to it, I'm gonna implement texturing of the whole voxel mesh. So the model at the end will have a texture map to it, so it's not just a bunch of random colors. But first of all, I want to implement saving and loading, because then I can have test cases with already finished voxels or voxel models, and I can test my texture mapping. So first things first, I need a way to actually save something to the file system, which I currently don't have any means to, since the platform layer doesn't give me. Where did I define the platform stuff? Alright, here. These are the platform services that the platform layer allows my game to call back into. Currently it's just loading textures, loading images to memory, releasing the images, and loading fonts. And I want to have one more, maybe two. Wait. Wait. Oh. Actually, before I do this, I should write the function first. and then I will know what to pass in there. So I want to be able to save buffer to file. You're basically saving a whole buffer to file, just as the name says. Okay, it seems I'm using create file A here, but I already have Unicode support. String. Do I have a W string? Yes, I have, so I should change this. To do, I can get rid of this. And then I can pass in the file name here, and you're using create file W. This should work, and we're gonna do the same thing down here. We still need to create a file, but instead of it being generic read, it's gonna be, I think, generic write file. Generic write. We don't care about reading, but we do want write access. So this is generic write. I don't think we will allow sharing since we're writing to the file. Not sure whether I can share the file. Let's just say 0 here for now. Then security attributes, don't use that. But we are gonna use these. Since you're writing to a file, we want the file to exist if it doesn't exist. Should it be create always or open always? File exists. No, it's I guess I also want the file to be truncated and open always maybe. just use it. Then flex and attributes. Doesn't matter. And the last one is what? Security context. Don't need that. So this should give us something to work with. Okay, so once we have this file, we need to close it at the end, and we need to call write file. So this should be a void buffer actually, so it can take arbitrary data and we can write it to a file on disk. We will call into this the file, the buffer size, and then it wants bytes written, and the last argument being overlapped, which we don't use. And if this fails, we're gonna log, even though the logging macro doesn't do anything yet. Like this. I don't think I want this to return a boolean value. Probably not. And that's basically it. This will save a whole buffer to file, although we need to be careful here. The third argument. Strange, it doesn't say that. Oh no, it only takes a d-word, that's why. So we can only write d-word amounts of data to the file at once. We can't write multiple, like 4 gigabytes, for instance, at once. But yeah, I'm probably never gonna write multiple gigabytes. like this. Wait, the file size doesn't make sense. Truncated buffer size. Right, and this should be able to now write stuff to the file. Let's compile. Don't I include this? Let's see, w string in. Oh, we need to include this before we include the file system. And I can't use save truncate on the words, which is fine. Okay, this compiles now, but we need to pass this function into the game, so we can call it from the game itself. And maybe I should change the name to write buffer to file here. Makes more sense. Now we need to pass it in. Like this, and now it compiles. Great. The game should be able to save stuff to the file system now. We're gonna test it out right away. Where am I doing update and render? Okay, so this is the main game loop. Here we're doing voxel and menu editing, rendering, and I'm gonna do check here whether control is down, and we just press the key Control S basically for save. If this is the case, we're gonna save the voxel grid to file. And if we do the same with L for load, we're gonna load from a file. The data being just the voxel grid, and the cell count times size of cell size. Do I have a cell size? No, it's just unit 8. size of voxel cell. We're gonna save that to the file, and okay, we can't read from the file system yet. Let's check whether we can save first. So voxel and yeah, that makes sense. It's probably voxel state then. Yeah, now it's compiling. Let's try it out. Let's add some random voxels. Hit Ctrl S. I guess. Let's see if the file is there now. Nope. Alright, so we're gonna break there and see what's happening. Okay, the file name is okay. We are converting that to a white string, which is also correct. Well, this is weird. Why is that all F's? We are not encountering any errors though, so I guess that's fine. This doesn't seem fine. There's no error outputs. Well, clearly it's not fine because it didn't create anything. So what does create file return? Oh, it returns invalid handle value. So my boolean check was wrong. This needs to be this. And the same thing here. Okay, so we are not writing anything. And we are saving, if I'm correct. Yeah. So this failed. I think one of these flags is wrong or incompatible. Probably should be looking like this. No? Is it the path? Shouldn't be. Okay, that was. So I can't say create always and truncate existing. So now it seems to have written something. Yeah, it's 4 kilobytes of raw voxel data. Can I inspect that? You can actually see the character through the ones here. So if I select all the ones, let's make those W's or something. It's actually the contours of the guy. So we are definitely writing the thing to the file correctly. As you can see, we are writing correctly to the file. Let's change the mesh and then save it to the file though, so we can make sure that when we're loading the correct stuff. Okay, let's make sure that this also worked. So there should be more than a couple of ones now. Yeah, so I did create additional voxels. And we are overwriting the file, and the file size doesn't get bigger, so I didn't need truncate existing, which is great. Next we're gonna load the file, which we already have, so I guess I only need to allow the game to call into this. Do I even want to expose the error type to the game? Not sure. I'm just gonna leave it in it for now. So what does this return? File contents. Basically, this signature we're gonna allow the game to call. Read whole file type. I guess I should call it read whole file to buffer, since the other way around it's called write buffer to file and then read file to buffer. So it's clear that these are just symmetrical operations. But I can leave the name as it is over here. This should be void. Wait. So this returns the thing that we pass into it back again. Do I need that? I could just say that it's returning how many bytes that it read. This should be void. Yeah, I think this is nicer. I don't need all of these. So in that case, this can stay care. I'm gonna write another version of this. Just calls into this one. Then it returns how many bytes we read, like this. And this is the function that I want to pass into the game layer. I'm already using this function somewhere else, so I don't want to change this, but this is fine. So here we need to pass the new function, read file to buffer, pass that into the game. This should be compiling. Good. And then we're gonna call into it here. So read buffer file to buffer, it's the same file, but now we're reading into, it's basically the same call, but it's a different name. But we need to make sure that we are reading exactly as many bytes as we have written previously. Okay. Data voxels. Okay. So control load. Did we load? Oh, we did load the voxels in, but I didn't recreate the mesh, so they were invisible. But as you can see, we can now load and save and load. But I need to recreate the voxel mesh. Oh, so where am I doing that currently? Here. Actually, this is something else. I don't need that. I just need this call right here. Actually, let's generate the voxel mesh regardless. And again, okay. Let's test this again. Load, and the voxels are right here. And I can delete them like this. Okay, seems to be working. I'll be right back. I need to go to the toilet. See you in a second. Okay, I'm back again. So, what did we do? We did loading. There it is. It's, well, I probably should change the key binding since I'm using L currently to lock the mouse to the screen, and Control moves me down. So every time I'm loading the voxels, my mouse gets unlocked. Okay. So we can save and load now. Let's save. Let's change. Let's load. Alright, okay. So next up, I want to do texture loading and texture mapping, but I don't know how to map the textures to the voxels yet. I have an idea, but first, um, let's create a simple texture. So a cube has 6 sides. 6 times 16 is 96. I don't know. This is a weird color. This also, let me some form of brown. Some weird stone texture. It's looking really bad. No. I don't know, something like this. Even though they don't really resemble stones. Let's have variations of this. I guess the top can be a single color with some highlights. I don't know. And the bottom is just like this. Some more here. Okay, we're gonna use this simple texture map. I guess this is the left. It's kinda weirdly organized. Let's have it like this. So this is the left, front, right, back, top, and bottom. So all the horizontal faces and then the top and bottom. Okay. Let's store that in the voxel state. Why does this take a temporary buffer again? Let's see. Win32 load texture takes a buffer. It loads the it reads the file into the buffer and then loads the image from the file in the... Okay, I get it. I probably shouldn't have written that like that. Yeah, I'm gonna change this real quick, since otherwise every time I'm gonna load the texture I would need to do this, which is way too much boilerplate. Okay, where was it? So here it's using read whole file with the supplied buffer. So let's write a new function that doesn't take a buffer. So it's gonna allocate the buffer and we need to free it. Okay, that's fine. Where does it use the buffer? Down here. I'm gonna call this internal, since this isn't the version I want to expose to the game layer. Since I need to remember to delete whatever was allocated. I guess I could write a wrapper. I can write that here too, actually. If I don't need to delete data, that's it. I probably need a move constructor. Okay, I don't need more than this because it's just an internal function. I guess it should also have an error type and an explicit operator bool. I guess this then I'm not gonna do that via an allocator. Mm, mm, mm. Maybe it's fine. No, this doesn't work. So we're not gonna do this like this. So if there was an error, we deallocate, otherwise we return. Which is then totally fine. And over here, this now doesn't take a buffer. This calls the internal version. Okay. Where float texture, so it doesn't take a buffer anymore. But this does, yeah, right. Float image to memory, no it doesn't. So I guess I did forget to free the image again. Do I have a free image? Yes. This doesn't take a buffer anymore. So I can move it out. I don't need a temporary memory block. And it's compiling. Now I should be able to do voxel state texture map. This is I think what I called it. But we need to make sure that everything's working, so we're gonna step through it, and we are not. Oh, I was freeing the memory. That was a double free. Right. Okay, we are actually allocating. Reading is also okay. I need to make sure that we are only allocating once. So let's okay, we are allocating once. This should be null, yeah, since we called the move constructor when returning. So we are not actually deleting anything here. and we move into this one, and this got the valid data. Oh, I still need to make sure that the destructor is called. So here we are loading the texture. We return and we deallocate the file data. And we have the image pixels loaded, which we then use to generate a voxel grid. Then we deallocate that. Okay, it seems to be working. And we are getting valid texture IDs, so loading texture seems to work too. Yeah, everything is still working fine. Okay, we are loading the texture map now. Next up, we're gonna use the texture map. Okay, there. So a cube has 6 sides. But I don't want each voxel to have its unique texture coordinates. Instead, I want to say for each face, which of the from okay texture map. let's go about this way. Texture map looks like this. It has 6 faces in it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The first 4 are the horizontal faces, so they get mapped to these faces. This is the top and the bottom. So top and bottom. And I want each voxel. So I guess this thing is my voxel grid, which is composed of small little voxels. And each of these voxels says from which of these textures it's taking its faces from. So each voxel doesn't have its unique texture coordinates, but instead the texture coordinates are derived from its position. So this voxel, let me pick another color. This voxel here would take its textures from this position, from all the textures. And I want to use a mask to say from which of these textures it should take its face. So basically I can say take all faces from this one texture here. So in that case, all the faces would be mapped to this region here. And I think I want texture mapping to work like this. So if I do it this way, that means I need to store a value of from 0 to 5 for each face. So the next biggest power of 2 here is 8, which means I need 3 bits for each face. there are 6 faces, so I need 6 times 3 bits, so 18 bits. That's more than a byte. Can I somehow fit this into a single byte? I could just instead of storing each face individually, I could store each combination. Like if I have a predefined list of combinations, which is, so this is left, front, back, no. Let's say this is A, B, C, D, E, and F. I would have a list of combinations. And I'm basically listing all possible combinations in this list, and each voxel would be an index to this list, and this list doesn't actually exist anywhere in memory. I just calculated on the fly. So how long would this list be? There are 6 possibilities for each entry, for each digit, and there are 6 digits, so it's 6 to the power of 6, which is still bigger than a byte, I guess. What am I doing? So that's a short. Can I encode it differently somehow? I guess the problem is that the texture map is has this many entries in it. What if I use texture maps that use a single texture for all horizontal faces, one for the top face and one for the bottom face? So it would be only 3. So the horizontal faces would be repeated on each side. That doesn't fix the problem. No, that doesn't fix the problem. What I could do is, since each voxel basically or wait, So each voxel is basically a single pixel, a 3D pixel. So I could just generate a new texture from the texture map that has exactly all the textures of the voxels combined in it, and then each voxel would be an indexed into this new texture. Which is still more than a byte. Well, I guess I just end up using shorts then. Unsigned shorts, okay. What about the 3 bits times 6? That's 18 bits. It's more than 16. So I can't use the 3 bits per phase idea with unsigned shorts. So currently the voxel grid is just a bunch of uint8s. So I would need to change this to uint16. And the voxel entries would be different. I still need a single value to say whether a cell is empty, but then I need to specify let's see how I need to specify how each of the faces are derived, what textures they are using. The easiest method is still to use 3 bits times 6 since there are 6 faces. So I would always know for a given face which texture it's using. So basically I need so if this was 4, that means it's half of a byte, which means I need 6 half bytes, which is 3 bytes. Which is one short, one unsigned short. If we get the next biggest power of 2, which is 4 bytes. So I guess we're gonna use the first 3 bytes of an unsigned integer to get the faces. Yeah, I think this is the best solution to my problem. So if the cell is 0, it means it's empty, and otherwise I guess I need to use one-based texture indices. So if there are textures defined for the cell, it's not 0 automatically. Okay. So because I changed stuff around, this is not gonna compile anymore. Let's define a new constant for empty values. So let me undo some of the changes. 0 memory is fine. There's my voxel grid. Now I can change all of these VT empties to empty cell. What is this? For now we're just gonna set them to non-zero. I just chose one arbitrarily. This is still working now, I hope. Okay, good. Now we need to encode the textures. So I'm gonna write a couple of helper functions to extract the texture index for each face. So it's gonna take a cell and an enum and whatever face we want. This should be unit 16. So we need the value of this thing. We're gonna shift so basically each cell is composed of two bytes, 4 bytes. No, it's 2 bytes. And we only need the first 3. Wait, how did I calculate this? No, I got rid of it. So we need 4 bits times 6, which is 18 bits. That isn't a uint short. Why did I think this was a uint 16? This is clearly 18. So we can't fit it into an unsigned short. So it's 3 bytes. So let's just use uint32s then. I guess it's fine. To get the texture index, we need to shift the value to the right by the amount of let's see, so the front is 0, which means it's right at the beginning. So we would be shifting nothing. And each of these faces is 4 bits long. So we need to multiply this by 4 to get the second set of 4 bits. We need to shift by 4 to get the third set of 4 bits. We need to shift by 8, so 2 times 4, that's correct. And after shifting, we need to mask off the bits that we don't want. So we need to clear off all of these bits. So we are only left with the first 4 bits, which is this here. That's not quite correct. Since 4 is one I need 1, 1, 1. This number is 7. It's 15. Of course. It's 0xf. Okay, we somehow got there. And once we have that, we need to subtract 1 from it. Since we said we store the texture indices based 1 based and not 0 based. But we use them 0 based. We just store them 1 based, so we can just compare the cell to 0 to see if it's empty. And if one of the textures is set, we know it's not 0 anymore, since 0 is not a valid texture index. So this way we get the texture which need to cast. And then one way to set the texture so I guess this is gonna return a cell, the new cell. It's gonna take a face and the index. We need to mask the value again into the valid range and cast it to whatever we store the voxel cells as. Afterwards, we need to shift it to the right index of the face. Then we have the masked value, and then we return the cell. we return this thing, which basically says which is not quite correct. Okay, this is looking weird, but what we are doing is we have an index which we mask to 4 bits. It's this here. Then we shift it to the right position wherever that value is stored for the given phase, which might be here. So now we have this value I in the right position, but there might be already something written at that position in the original cell, so we need to clear it. We need to set it to 0, which is achieved by this expression, and then we store whatever we shifted there within bitwise OR. Okay, this should be working. Then I need to update how I'm generating the mesh from voxel grid, since currently it doesn't take into account that voxels can be different from each other. So it's now it's gonna take a phase value. Do I need anything else? Let's test it out first. So the first plane it's the left face, it seems. No, it's the front face. It's the plane is the it's the front face, yeah, there. It says it's the front face, so this needs to be voxel face front. Did I write them small? No. This is the right face. Top face. Bottom left and the back face. So we have front, back, right, left, top and bottom. Okay. So the algorithm, once it found the first unprocessed quad, it's gonna store the value for the texture index for that quad. So how is this looping? Okay. So we're gonna set the so we're getting the cell and the face, and we basically, when we are doing these checks, we always need to make sure that the texture indices are the same. So I should probably move this out into a separate function, since these checks happen multiple times. Oh, it's needing the map tool. Alright, all of this is gonna be done by the function now. I can just write it like this then. Okay, so the cell isn't allowed to be empty, and the voxel face texture needs to be the same as whatever we passed in. Very complex. And the voxel needs to be unprocessed, and the cell in front needs to be empty. Otherwise, we're not even generating a quad for that voxel. So, is generating quad. That's what it's actually checking. And here we need to say So if the voxel at this position and with this texture index is generating a quad, we then do this, otherwise we break. Good. So the check over here also gets simplified because of this. So this doesn't have anything to do on true. Grid, plane, map, x, y, z, texture index. So get rid of these. There should be one more place where I do a similar check. It's here, okay. But in this case, I don't care about the texture index. So this is fine. So this needs to capture this function. Let's compile. Get cell first position. No, x, y, z. Okay, I think this is not correct. Yeah, I didn't change anything. Yeah, my voxel generation code still working. But I think I broke something, since this text isn't being shown anymore. There should be text here. Where did the text go? I didn't change anything with the text, I think. Some of the text is still rendering, so I didn't break everything. So where did the title text go? The text should be completely white. The area seems correct. Yeah, the color is correct. It is actually rendering. So why am I not seeing anything? It was working a while ago, and I didn't change anything with the text, with the rendering of text. Trying to narrow down what the error might be. Might be that my clipping, for some reason, isn't working anymore. Yeah, it was because of the clipping, but I didn't change anything with the clipping. So what is going wrong with the clipping? Let's see, clipping, clip. What? Can you show the game? Sure, it's just a voxel editor currently. I just implemented saving and loading. You can select and move voxels around currently and then duplicate them. Yeah, still working on features. Currently I'm debugging a text rendering issue, and after that I'm gonna implement texture mapping. So some of the text here isn't rendering. So this text it's getting clipped away. see. Why isn't this jumping to the... Yeah, there it is. So this thing now clips the text, and the clipping rect is completely zeroed out. Okay, so that's debug. Why is the clipping rect 0? It's not 0 here. But it's 0 here. Or the current matrix is completely zeroed out for whatever reason. So that's why it was clipping everything. Why? Why is that the way it is? Current matrix. Clipping right. Current matrix, matrix stack. So make sure that when we initialize the mesh stream, wait, no, this is the wrong place to do that. Whatever he gets here should already be initialized. Here I'm making the matrix stack, and this thing is setting this first one to the identity, so why is it cleared out? Okay. It is zeroed out, so we're gonna investigate when that happens. So currently it's the identity. I'm gonna take the address of this thing and create a memory breakpoint. a data breakpoint I meant. So if any of these 8 bytes change at any point, you're gonna break. And here it is that it's breaking. So this should be count of, not size of. So I was corrupting memory there. Yeah, it's the count, it's not the size. So let's check this again. Rect, yeah, it's not getting cleared out anymore. And we're rendering text, okay. So it was definitely weird that we weren't rendering text, even though I didn't change anything regarding the text rendering, but it seems like now we're not rendering anything. So I still have a memory corruption problem somewhere. Didn't I do 0 memory somewhere else? So we're rendering the menu, we're still rendering. I place a voxel, we're still rendering. Why wasn't this working a second ago? That's weird. Can't seem to reproduce the bug. So let me try to generate way too many voxels and see if that is an issue. No? That's weird. Wait, why didn't it delete these voxels? Can't reproduce a bug. Well, it doesn't matter. Am I loading the texture map? Okay, we're loading the texture map. Are the voxel faces in the right order? Front, left, back, right, top, bottom? Yes. Okay. I'm gonna take a short break, and after that I'm gonna work on texture mapping. Let's say 10 minutes. Alright, I'm back. So next up, we're gonna do some texture mapping. I need a initial value. A default value for voxels. Let's see, const voxel cell default cell. It's basically a bunch of these calls for all faces where each of the indices are set to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But currently I basically have to calculate this by hand, or I'm gonna write a version of this that is a macro. Or actually one index for each face. Left, front, left, back, right, top, and bottom. So this is 1 times 4 times 4 for the left, 2 times 4 for the back, plus 1, 3 for right, then top and bottom, 4 and 5. So this is the default cell. This should compile. It is compiling, good. Then I'm gonna implement a new button here that just says that we're gonna create a new voxel mesh. So we're filling that with the default cell, and this should basically I should be clear in the mesh stream too, and then generate voxel mesh from grid. Oh, it's part of the voxel state, so this is gonna be voxel 2. So now when I press new, it's gonna fill the whole cube with voxels and you can't dig into it. Interesting. So this makes it so that so in this case the voxel mesher generates optimized meshes, but if I fill the grid with still, well, that's weird. It's still optimized. Now if I remove a single voxel here, for some reason the bottom face gets also fragments. Why is the bottom and left face also affected from this single voxel missing? That's definitely a bug. So the same thing happens here too, and with the top also. Okay, so what's wrong with the mesher? Generate. Let me get rid of this check for now and see if that was the problem. Yeah, I think. So if I remove a single voxel here, now the other faces are unaffected. Yeah, only the face I'm removing the voxel from changes its mesh. So for some reason, this check here is failing. So if I enable this, and remove a single face here, as you can see, it affects the left and bottom also. Oh, I think I know what the problem is. This needs to be this. Yeah, these three components aren't the XYZ coordinates, they are swizzled. And I need to use the swizzled coordinate, not the raw coordinates. Okay, let's test this again. Okay, that seems to have fixed it. Okay. Yeah. That was indeed the problem. Okay, the faces are still optimized. Okay, I think I can do texture mapping now. So I need to change how I'm generating these quads. Mhm. So I need texture coordinates. Since this is a quad, it's always 2D, but I need to know on which plane I am. And then, wait, do I need to know on which plane I am? So, let's say we are on the XY plane, except my origin is over here. So this is the XY plane. Let's say I am processing this voxel, this face here, this quad. The textual coordinates of this are its x position divided by the width of the voxel grid. Yeah. Okay, so this is the grid width. Then I need to know this position here, which is the start vertex dot elements divided by the grid width, and the vertical component divided by the grid height, which is basically just the grid width. This is TW, and we are talking about this position we are going in the vertical direction down, so that's this. Then we are going one to the right, which is this. Position, and then diagonal, which is this one. And we need to also set the colors, which is looking super ugly now, but this should be working. Guess I could do this. Okay, so this is the initial quad. Here we are extending the quad in the X and Y direction. So we're gonna do this. And similarly, we're gonna do this here. This should be plain. Vertex is written like this. Text width, this should be pixel. And this should be position. Grid height isn't being used, it's fine. Okay, let's see. So everything is white because I didn't set up any textures. So if I set a texture, here I'm rendering set texture. Let's try this. It's still white. That's not correct. Oh, that's the wrong where am I rendering? Oh, here. Here I'm rendering the voxels. Okay, definitely the wrong colors. There's something going on with texturing. Let's use a different texture. Let's only use the first half. Colors are way off. It doesn't even resemble anything in the texture. Why is the grid so big? Okay, that's the problem. This should be 16. So I actually needed this here, and then okay, there actually the texture is actually here. It's mapping the texture correctly. And if I remove voxels from the top, it's still looking it's still using this right texture at the top. Okay, texture mapping works, but why is the color off? Why is the color off? RGB 8. Pixel data consists of Y scan lines of X pixels, with each pixel consisting of N interleaved 8-bit components. The first pixel pointed. Yeah. If you set this to 4, which I do, you will always get RGBA output. So it's RGBA that I'm uploading. But I'm using ARGB, not RGBA. Let's see if that is the problem. G, B, and A. And we're gonna turn that into ARGB. That wasn't the problem. Okay, my texture mapping is still wrong, and also the colors are off. Let me quickly check whether the texture is off or something else is causing this. Oh, the colors are off. And the texture is rotated. Isn't this thing a PNG? Oh, there it is. So I was sampling the colors from the texture. And the texture it's saved as RGBA, but otherwise I'm using ARGB. So if I do this, okay, now the texture coordinate issue. Weird enough, it's working completely fine for the top face. Removing arbitrary voxels don't create any issues, but the others not so much. And the bottom is again fine. Wasn't the texture still flipped? Yeah, it's still flipped. It's rotated 90 degrees to the left. Or counterclockwise. Am I doing the push quads wrong? No. Let me check. Left top, right top, left bottom, right bottom. Okay, so that's correct. And over here I should be doing the same. Left top, left I'll right top first. Wait. This is going the vertical axis down though. So this is off. So this is one issue. And the other being I'm doing the same mistake here. So to the right first and then down. That's correct. Why are the indices different? 1, 3, 2, and 2. One, 3, 2 is the correct one. Wait. Let's draw this. Okay, this is 0. This is my quad. Looks like this. 0, 1, 2, 3. The first one is drawn clockwise. The second one is 2, 1, 3 is also clockwise. And here it's 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, also clockwise, so it doesn't matter. But I guess I should be consistent. So still the question is, why is this texture flipped 90 degrees? So left top, right top, left bottom, right bottom. And here left top, left bottom, right bottom. So this is correct. Same thing happens here, left top, right top, left bottom, right bottom. Push quad. And here it's top left, oh, right top, left bottom, right bottom. So I was rendering it wrong, yet now it's correct, I think. Let's see. Yeah. So there was no problem with my well, this is new. How is this happening? Huh? When did this happen? Generate voxel grid. I don't think I changed anything here. Is it because of this change? Oh, it is. How is that? So left top, right top. So I guess this is wrong then. It needs to be 1 and 3. And for the Y it's 2 and 3. Okay, that fixed it. Okay, good. But still this there is this error here. My maths is working out for the top and bottom face. So here when I'm removing voxels, the texture doesn't get scrambled, but for the horizontal faces it doesn't work that well. Are the initial values maybe wrong? So they are not wrong for the initial case. So one of them is mapping to 0, then to 1, etc. So me removing a voxel here shifts the texture to the left. Hmm. So this line here is wrong. Only this strip. Now it's correct again. No. So it moved one down too many. Is it because of maybe it's because of let's disable this. Because of this. Oh, it's still doing it, so it's not because of the filtering. The y-axis is flipped because of the coordinate system. And there is an offset, right? The origin, yeah. So I need to do this differently. I need to use these. And then this needs to be texel width. That didn't quite work out. Now everything is wrong. These are flipped. Ah, there it is. Okay, texture mapping is working now. And I can dig into the voxel thing. I think I need some form of lighting, so it's clear which voxel are removed. Okay, I think the bugs are gone now. The meshing seems to be working correctly. Texture mapping works. So now I should be able to select which texture I want. So I'm not using this anymore. Okay, so let's switch to the old texture map again. This one. Get rid of the debug texture map. Now the textures should be all messed up. Yeah. And we need to be able to select the right texture from the texture map. Which is an offset into the first texture coordinate. So I know what the texture index is. And we multiply this by, let's see, basically by this. There are 6 textures in a texture map, which is, and each of them is 16 pixels wide. And I'm selecting which one I want. So the texel width and height are now different. This is the texture width. Alright. Almost. Oh yeah, this is wrong. Times 16. Something doesn't make sense here. No, it's still wrong. Well, now the initial textures are mapped correctly, but once I start removing voxels, it's getting messed up. Oh, here, there it is. Yeah, that fixed it. So next I need to be able to change what type a voxel is. Currently each voxel takes its top face from the top texture, and I want it to be different based on which texture it's mapped to. So I need to be able to change the texture source per voxel. So I can make this top face brown also, for instance, and this left face of this voxel this color. Alright. I'm finished streaming for today. Thanks for watching, everyone.